The Nigerian Meteorological Agency has issued a 3-day weather forecast for rains and thunderstorms across major parts of the country. The forecast indicates that the northern, southern and central regions should prepare for storms, moderate rains and strong winds. States like Taraba, Adamawa, Kebbi, Borno, Yobe, Gombe, Bauchi, Sokoto and Kaduna State will experience thunderstorms with rains. In the south, morning rains are expected in Enugu, Cross River and Akwa Ibom State, followed by moderate to heavy rainfall across Ebonyi, Abia, Edo State, Ondo State, Delta, Bayelsa, Rivers, Cross River and Akwa Ibom States. NiMET says the central region will experience cloudy conditions in the morning with increased chances of thunderstorms as the day progresses. Thunderstorm and rain are also expected in other parts of that region. We'll have a conversation on this prediction by NiMET after the break. But still ahead on TVC News at 1. Anambra State government shut down a facility operating as a hospital used as a baby factory in Umunya, Oyi local government area. We have these and more after the break. Stay with us.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Thank you for staying with us on the news at 1. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Vice President Shatima restates Nigeria's commitment to food security at the United Nations Food System Summit in Addis Ababa. Right, we turn our attention back to the prediction by NiMET on heavy rainfalls across major states in Nigeria. Well, I'm joined by the Executive Director, Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, Oluwafemi Akimbode. It's good to have you join us on the news this hour. We've seen prediction for states in the north and south marked to experience thunderstorms with heavy rainfall. But how would you compare this year's forecast compared to averages for rainfall at this time of the year?
Well, I think the forecast for this year shows that Nigeria, in the entire country, we have very high level of rain. It is predicted that states will have between 150 days to 290 days of rain, and that Nigeria will experience between 405 millimeters to 3,000 millimeters of water. Before now, Olamide, the issue has been that we don't have enough early warning systems. And I must tell you that NiMET this year has, done remarkably well. First was the yearly prediction. There's nothing that has happened now that was not predicted by NiMET. And they've actually updated those predictions, by telling us that this is what we're going to expect. Lagos is going to experience more than the unusual level of rain this year. 20 states is at risk of flood. They were as detailed as that. And then the question for me will be, how have we utilized that early warnings? Yes, there is another 3 days warning. In May, we were tackling or addressing or talking about the Mokwa flood. A day or so ago, it is now the Adamawa flood. And we already know that once this thing started, the waters will continue to go gradually into all of these states. We've gotten the early warning systems. What we're supposed to be talking about now, how are we going to have that early response to the early warnings that we've gotten? And that is where we are lagging as a country. We have refused to look at why we continue to have perennial flooding in this country. We all agree that there's a problem of climate change. What are the interventions that we could do as a nation to prevent the destruction of properties that we've always experienced in Nigeria? We need to look at our dam infrastructure. There are about 200 dams spread across different states of this country that are in different decaying infrastructure states that nothing is being done about. Often and often we talk about, drainages and channels in cities like Lagos, like delta areas of our country. Little is being done to that. We cannot tackle the issue of flooding in Nigeria without looking at corruption and accountability. How much of funds had gone into an ecological fund is running to over 600 billion naira that has been paid to different states as ecological funds.
Ensuring, proper drainage system across all states and public sensitization. These are some of the concerns that have been raised, not just now. We saw some of that also last year. And it's also raises the concern about what you said in terms of state infrastructure. Are they ready for this? But let's look at rural areas and how this should be addressed, especially for areas like that who have, lower access to information. Should they be moved ahead of this, or perhaps there should be more steps in place?
Well, there are 3 tiers of government, and those 3 tiers of government are supposed to work together in order to be able to do what gets to the citizens, regardless of their location. Olamide, politicians do get to those grassroots to ask them to vote for them when there is election time. Then we should be able to get them to safety where there is damage. There is danger at hand. So when there is going to be flooding, those flood-prone areas are already mapped. Those zones are already known in this country. In fact, we all know those states that are likely going to experience flooding year in, year out. We know those local governments. We know that as the water are coming from the north, they're going to empty in Bayelsa. They're going to empty in Ayetoro, those states. They're going to empty in Lagos State. So government should use the institutions of government that are existing. The local governments are there to reach out to these people, to evacuate them where the case may be, and again to rehabilitate them. You just don't ask them to leave their cultural, communal areas, but to be able to provide them so that they can have dignified living wherever they are being moved to.
Well, that's a fine place to leave the conversation for now. Executive Director, Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, Oluwafemi Akimbodi, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much.